Okay, this is now tarot lesson 188, and a couple. I think it's going to be called "The Other People in Our Lives," and this is because the Substack post that I just uploaded. The card of the day was the King of Batons. So I think I'd like this to be about other people and court cards. Partly because people find it awkward to talk about kings, queens, knights, and pages. So I'll give you some ideas on how you can get to know them or how you can figure out what to say about them in a reading. The Substack post began with the last one was about the moon card, number 18. And I found myself wondering, instead of 18, maybe we think about the moon card as being 2 times 9. So we've got 2 for the High Priestess and 9 for the Hermit. So this card, the moon card, number 18, can represent the Hermit plus the Hermit. And I ponder on, write about what that might mean in the Substack post. But it can also be 2 times 9. What do you get when you multiply the Hermit by the High Priestess? What kind of composite answer do you get that can illuminate what the moon is about? So this, for instance, the High Priestess is private wisdom, maybe, whereas the Hermit can be public wisdom. So you put the two together, and so maybe with the moon card, because this is solitary and this is solitary, maybe you've got to do what the moon represents. You've got to do it by yourself or on your own. So if the question is, am I going to get a promotion, and the moon card comes up, it means it's really up to you. If you're going to get the promotion, you're going to get it because of what you are capable of, or what you've achieved, or what you know, or how you present yourself. But it's all up to you. You're not going to get help from other people or help from people that you know, who they may put in a good word for you, but it's not going to make any difference. With the moon card, it's really about the individual being the best they can be, or doing whatever it is that they can do. So I'll look at a bit about these 3 cards, or these 2 cards together, and what they might mean for the moon card, and as well as on their own and in themselves. But first, this is a horoscope. Yeah, that's the chart of Ben Affleck that you may know. He's an actor, director, and he was famously connected with J-Lo, and then he married Jennifer Garner, I think. And then they got divorced, but they had a couple of children. So in a horoscope, the reason I'm showing a horoscope, because the first house is the self, right? I need a pen. So the first is the self, that's you, or that's the native. The 7th house opposite represents the other people in their life. And the thing is, when it comes to other people, if you go into a room and there's 100 people there, you're not going to be connected with, or attracted to, or get involved in conversation with everybody. Most people, you look at them and you ignore them because they're not your type of people. And your type of person is represented or shown by the 7th house in a horoscope, in your horoscope. So you can see that Ben Affleck has 8 Capricorn on the 7th house cusp. So Ben likes Capricorn, Saturnian type people, serious, whatever you want to say about Capricorn, and ruled by Saturn. So Ben's type is different from my type, because I have Aries rising, so I've got Libra on the 7th house cusp. So if I were to meet Jennifer Garner and J-Lo, okay, it might be quite interesting meeting a big celebrity or some kind of celebrity, but they're kind of not my type, if you'll excuse me. So the 7th house represents the other people in your life. And the reason we need other people is because the 7th house also represents what we individually are meant to become in this lifetime. which you don't find on ChatGPT. It's not going to tell you that, but it's a fact. So you have got the people in your life because they in some way represent what you're meant to become or what you're in the process of becoming through your life. And that's why we need other people, because they give us ideas and signposts, whether we know it or not. They give us signposts to our own future. So that's something to remember when it comes to a court card in somebody's reading, that they've got their type of people that they're attracted to, or that they hate, or that they want to be like, or that they admire, or whatever it happens to be. But there's certain types of individuals are right for anybody, and they're not right for other people. You just don't click with a lot of people, or there's nothing there to begin with. There's some people you have an instant rapport with, a connection with. That's because they fit in some way your seventh house. Whether even if you don't know your birth time, you've still got a seventh house because you were born at some point. And there's a seventh house with its own strengths and weaknesses and characteristics and planets and signs and decanates and all the rest of it. So in Ben's case, we've got 8 Capricorn in the 7th house cusp. The ruler of that 8 degrees of Capricorn is Saturn over here in the 12th. So Ben himself, his partnerships are connections with people he knows from other lifetimes, because Saturn is in the 12th. The ruler of the 7th is in the 12th. And one way of looking at it is that he owes karmic debts to the partners, the people he's going to be involved with in this lifetime. And it's because he owes them from other lifetimes. So either he pays them back or they pay him back. So what happens to Ben and relationships isn't just connected with what's going on in this lifetime. It's got a connection with other, lifetimes, other kinds of consciousness, whatever you want the 12th house to represent. And also because the 12th is a house of imprisonment, Ben can feel trapped by partnerships. So that was something about that. So the card for today is the King of Batons. So again, if you turn a card and think, you get a king, a queen, a knight, or a page, and your heart sinks. Your heart used to sink, but after this lesson, after this little bit of discussion, you're going to be more confident and more able to treat correctly a king, a queen, a knight, or a page using this method here. So with a court card, it can represent the questioner, or somebody the questioner knows, or somebody the questioner is going to get to know in the future, or it can represent a condition or a situation that you're going to go through. And the thing is, people often want to know, if readers often want to know, okay, does a court card represent somebody they know, or they're going to know, or what? And the thing is, it can be all of the above. So a king can represent, a king, a queen, a knight, or a page can represent you, the questioner. It can represent somebody you're going to meet, because by understanding them or learning about them, you're going to learn something about yourself. And that's why they're important for you, and that's why they're going to come into your life. Or they can represent somebody that you don't know, who's also going to teach you a lesson or teach you something about behavior or about people or about life or something. And that's why you need them. But a court card can also represent a situation or a condition. So because it's a king, you may be involved in a situation where somebody's got to make a decision. Somebody's got to decide, okay, we're going to do this. And if you don't like it, that's too bad, but we're going to do it anyway. Maybe it needs somebody to stand up and be counted. Maybe it's you, the questioner, or maybe it's going to be somebody else, but it can be one way or the other. You're going to find yourself in a situation where somebody being in charge is important. In charge because it's a king. If it's a queen, then it's important you're in a situation where somebody has to be loving and kind and caring, like a good mother. If you're in a situation represented by a knight, then somebody's going to have to decide, we're going to make this happen. We're going to go out and do it, like a knight, like a messenger, or a knight in shining armor. And if it's a page, we're going to be in a situation where there's a lot to learn, and we're at the beginning, and we're going to have to do what we can. And even if we make mistakes, we've still got to do something. So if we do it systematically, if you do this on your own and you're studying or you're thinking on your own, the king, let's say we begin, if the king represents the questioner, then be like the King of Batons. And if it's the king upside down, don't be like the King of Batons. So you look at this and you break it down into portions. So be a king. What does a king do? A king gives orders. So it can be that it's going to be important for you to find yourself, to take command, to be in control, to give orders and expect that you're going to be obeyed, because that's what kings do. So if you, the questioner, are represented by the king, then you have to go out and make things happen. And maybe you take advice from other people or listen to what they've got to say, but it's up to you to make the final decision. And if other people don't like it, that's too bad. They have to do what you want them to do. They have to go along with what you want, because it's a king. The suit is batons, and batons can represent energy and enterprise. So with the King of Batons, you, the questioner, have to be enterprising. You've got to look around and see what possibilities are there, what possibilities exist, and do something creative with what you've got. And that's you being enterprising. And because the suit of batons can represent energy, then you have to be energetic. And rather than sit back and wait for things to happen or wait for other people to do things, it's really up to you, because you're represented by the King of Batons. It's up to you to make things happen, to put energy into a project, or energy into a life, or energy into an idea, and turn it into something and make it work. So if it's you, that's what we're dealing with, the King of Batons. And you come up with the kind of person that the King of Batons would represent: energetic, commanding, imperious, liked, respected. You can wonder if some people who look for leadership are going to like the King of Batons. People who like to be consulted maybe don't like the king as much, because kings want things their way. And if you don't want other people making decisions for you, then there can be a little bit of conflict with the King of Batons. So the king can represent the questioner, and now we've got something we can say about what to do or how to behave if you're represented by the King of Batons. The King of Batons can be somebody that you already know. So how do you know you already know them? Maybe because the question was, okay, what can you tell me about Bill? Or what can you tell me about Anne? Or it does, because the king can be a man or a woman. It can be somebody who likes to be in control, let's say. Okay, so it can be a man or a woman. So if you've got a CEO, the head of a company, who's a woman, that can be the King of Batons. Even though she's a woman, she's still in charge. Or it can be a teacher in a classroom, male or female, can be the king in the classroom. The head of a department in a school might be a woman, but she's the king. So you get the idea. You figure out the context, or think about the context, that what makes sense for the king. So am I going to marry Bill? Am I going to marry Anne? Am I going to marry whoever it happens to be? And so if the question is, am I going to get along with or marry or have a good relationship with this person, you know who you're talking about. So the king will represent the person you already know, because you're asking about somebody you already know. And again, what's the context? If it's am I going to meet somebody and get married, if that's the question, and the King of Batons comes up, you don't know them yet, because you're asking about, are you going to meet somebody and marry them? And with the king upright, yes. Upside down, no. Only because it's upside down. But it can be that, no, why not? Because they're too bossy. Because they push you around too much. Because they always want their own way. Because that's the king upside down. Whereas, am I going to meet somebody and have a good relationship when you get the king upright? Yes, and they're entertaining, energetic, enterprising. They've got good ideas. They want people to feel good around them, so they're willing to cooperate with other people and have a nice time and all the rest of it. So somebody else represented by a king. So we've got the same idea of being in charge, of being a ruler, of expecting to be maybe a spokesperson, because the king can be in charge, and maybe, depending on the question, maybe you've got a spokesperson, or somebody who speaks on behalf of the group, or somebody who speaks on behalf of a company or a group, who is inspirational. So they're not just giving you orders and telling you to do things you don't want to do, but they're inspiring you or showing you what good will come, or what good will develop if you cooperate with their plan. So that can be with the king of, and because it's king and it's batons. So is it somebody you know? Again, the question will tell you that. If it's somebody you don't know, or if it's a Celtic cross maybe, and we don't know if it's somebody we know already. If you happen to have in the spread a couple of, if I can only find, okay, if we've got, let's say that's the final outcome, and before that we've got the 10 of batons down here, and we've got the knight of batons passing away. We've already got batons here and here in a different part of the spread. So the fact that we've got a king as a final outcome, having been through these two, then yes, you already know that person, is one way of looking at it. Whereas if the king is the only card of the suit of batons, then it's more likely to be somebody that you don't know yet. And the last point I'll make has to do with a kind of situation or a condition. Because the king can represent, as I mentioned before, the idea of somebody needs to make a decision. Somebody needs, let's say there's 3 or 4 of you, and you're going to go out for dinner, and one wants to go for Italian, and one wants to go for Chinese, and one wants to go for Indian, and one wants to go for something else. You know what it's like if you've got 3 or 4 people all trying to figure out where you're going to go for the evening. It needs somebody to decide, okay, we're going for Chinese food, and that's it. That's the kind of situation you can have with a king card, where somebody needs to decide, somebody needs to make an executive decision. This is what we're going to do. Or it can be with the king of batons upside down, that there is no general agreement about what you do. You need a tiebreaker, because you've got 2 or 3 people for each possible course of development, and nobody wants to give in. And that can be what you're up against with the king of batons, where nobody wants to give in. Nobody wants to give up their idea for other people. They want their own way. So you get situations like, or conditions where there's a king involved, or who's going to be the king for the night, or who's going to be the king for the time being, so that you can at least make a start, and so you can at least get the thing going. It doesn't mean that the person who makes the decision is going to be in charge forever, but it can be that the king of batons needs somebody to say, okay, enough discussion, this is what we're going to do, and then you move on from that point. So that, I think, was something about court cards, and but there's more on that idea of the hermit and the hermit together, giving the moon card 18, and the High Priestess times the Hermit, 2 times 9, giving you 18. There's more discussion about what that would mean, and that's at the Substack post. I'll put the link in the description down below. And that was it. Till next time, thank you very much. Have a good day. Okay, bye-bye.